All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on a really critical, but, super hidden part of the criminal underworld. We're talking about money laundering, how criminals take dirty, illegal cash and somehow make it look perfectly clean. Okay, let's dive right in. So, to get our heads around this, let's start with maybe the most famous gangster of all time, Al Capone. I mean, at his peak, the guy was pulling in what would be $1.4 billion a year today. So, when the feds were closing in, how on earth did he hide that kind of cash? The answer, believe it or not, is that he washed it, literally. And that one simple idea ended up becoming the blueprint for a massive global criminal industry. Now, here's the crazy part. Despite running this huge criminal empire, Capone was never actually convicted for bootlegging or extortion or any of that stuff. The only thing they could pin on him was tax evasion, all because he couldn't explain where his mountains of money were coming from. See, Capone had this very big, very specific problem. All that cash he was making from his illegal rackets, it was basically a giant pile of evidence. It screamed guilty. So he needed a way to make it look like it came from a totally legal source. And the solution was to funnel it into businesses where it could just disappear in plain sight. So what did he do? He chose businesses that dealt almost entirely in cash, places where it's really hard to trace who owns what. And, famously, one of his investments was a chain of laundromats. And yeah, that's pretty much where the term money laundering comes from. And that really gets to the heart of what money laundering is. It's the whole process of taking dirty money, cash from crime, and cleaning it so it looks like it came from a legitimate business. Once that's done, the money can be spent anywhere without raising a single red flag. But look, Capone didn't invent this idea, not by a long shot. This practice is pretty much as old as money itself. You've had ancient merchants hiding their wealth from tax collectors and pirates trying to figure out how to sell their stolen loot. The only real difference today is that the schemes are just way, way more complex, using everything from crypto and offshore banks to the darknet. But no matter how high-tech or complicated the scheme is, most money laundering operations follow the same basic three-step cycle. So let's break down exactly how that works. The three steps are placement, layering, and integration. You can kind of think of it like this. You put the dirty money into the system, you mix it all up so no one can follow it, and then you pull it out, perfectly clean, on the other side. It all kicks off with step one, placement. The first big hurdle is just getting all that physical cash into the financial system. A common way to do that is to deposit it into the bank account of some anonymous shell company. Now, this is by far the most dangerous step for any criminal. Why? Because a huge amount of cash just magically appears in a bank, and that sets off all kinds of alarms. Okay, so once the money is in the system, step two begins. This is called layering. And the whole goal here is to create a really confusing, complicated mess of transactions. The idea is to hide where the money originally came from. This is where you see money getting bounced between dozens of different accounts or used to buy and sell expensive things like cars, art, or real estate. Or maybe it's funneled through a casino where, let's be honest, huge sums of cash changing hands is just another Tuesday. And finally, that brings us to integration. This is the finish line. The money is now clean and it's ready to re-enter the mainstream economy. The criminal might invest it in a totally legal business and then pay themselves with fake invoices. Or they could even set up a fake charity and give themselves a ridiculously huge salary. At this point, for all intents and purposes, the money is totally legit. So, that's the three-step cycle. It's how a pile of dirty cash can be turned into a clean asset. But this isn't just some clever trick used by a few bad guys. This is the engine of a massive global dirty business. So what is the true scale of this problem, and how do we even begin to fight it? Well, for a long time, prosecuting this stuff was incredibly hard. I mean, just look back at Capone. The authorities knew what he was doing, but they just couldn't prove the underlying crimes in court. They had to get him on tax evasion. And that was the problem for decades. But then there was a huge shift in the United States back in 1986. A new law made the act of concealing the source of illegal money a crime in and of itself. And this was an absolute game changer. Suddenly, law enforcement could go after huge criminal operations, like drug cartels, just by attacking their finances. They didn't have to prove the drug trafficking part anymore. But this new power also kicked off a whole new debate. To catch the launderers, banks now had to report big cash transactions to the government. And that sparked a conversation we're still having today. Where do you draw the line between security and our financial privacy? And the fight is against just a staggering amount of money. I mean, it's impossible to know the exact number, right? That's the whole point. But estimates from groups like the United Nations say the total amount laundered globally is in the hundreds of billions, some even say trillions of dollars, every single year. That's more than the entire economy of many countries, all flowing through the shadows. And here's something that's really crucial to understand. Modern money laundering isn't just gangsters with suitcases full of cash anymore. The biggest scandals you read about today often involve names you'd recognize, major international banks, and even powerful government officials. It's not always about them being in on the crime. Sometimes it's just about systems being set up to look the other way, creating a place where dirty money can always find a home. Which really leaves us with a final, pretty sobering question. When a criminal enterprise is this huge, this woven into the fabric of our global financial system, who can we really say is truly clean?